Now then, people, welcome back to the Just Joe Football Show and another episode of The Final Word. I don't think we had one last week. And to be fair, there's some new faces and some old faces with us. Less of the old, though, Eva.
Less of the old, less of the old.
We've got Dylan and Jacob joining us for the first time. These two lads are from the Finalysis Final 11, Starting 11. I think it's Starting 11. So yeah, I wanted to get them on. They were supposed to be on a couple of times last week, but my head was up my arse, as some of you know. So it was chopped and changed. But we're back in the game now, and we're here to talk everything Leeds versus Bournemouth. But before we get into it, let's just find out how everyone is. Dylan, how are you, mate? Regular, I guess we've spoke on Twitter on numerous occasions, haven't we, mate? And you're in the Finalysis final Starting 11 it is. I don't know why it's Final 11, but yeah. How are you, mate? You good?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. I'm good. Feeling well, so that's all good. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, good man. And Jacob, first time on as well. How are you, dude?
I'm all right, to be fair, mate. Got a bit of an hangover. Had a few beers watching the game yesterday and had a few more after, drowned my sorrows. But I'm all right. I'm all right.
Yeah, good. Was that in and around Leeds? Did you go to the game? How was it?
Yeah, I went to the game, mate. So we had it. I went peak up for about 11:30. So by the time it would kick off, I were a little bit tipsy. But yeah, we're all right, to be fair. Had a good day out. It'd have been better if we'd have won, but
yeah. No, exactly. And Evie, how are you apart from your sore throat and white rose chat?
Yeah, I'm good. Yeah, still feeling a little deflated, but now looking more on the positive side of things. I think the majority of people would have taken a point before the game.
Yeah,
it was just cruel added time misery again for Leeds United. So other than that, we're looking well, and we are above Man United in the table. So stop the count, please.
Yeah. Your prediction of Man United getting relegated might come true, you know.
I know.
It's mad, isn't it? It's mad. But we'll start there, even. I'll start with you, obviously. You've mentioned it. Felt like a punch to the gut, didn't it? To perform or at least keep Bournemouth at bay for as long as we did. Once we'd gone in front, I thought we were the better side for large parts of the game, especially in the second half. And then obviously they made some changes. They grew into it, and then a lapse of concentration towards the end. A bit like Fulham in a sense. Do you know what I mean? Just that lapse, just that gut punch. That's what it felt like to me, a bit of a gut punch.
Yeah, it felt probably not as bad, but it felt like Sunderland last year in terms of we were in stoppage time. We'd been the better team by far in the second half, and we were at home. So everybody was absolutely bouncing. I don't think anybody really had put a foot wrong until then. I'm not saying that we were, the complete finished article or anything, but we were the better team, and there was it just felt so gutting because before the game, I think I predicted a 2-1 win as well. So I was getting so ready to be really smug when I came, back on here thinking, I was right, yeah. But we really deserved that. And yeah, it felt very deflating. But if you'd have given me a point before the game, I actually, with the form and the trajectory that Bournemouth over the last few seasons have been on, yeah, I know we call them, tiny Bournemouth and tin pot and all of that, insults and stuff that we like to hurl at people. But you can't deny that, especially with the squad overhaul in the summer, they are doing brilliantly. So we kind of strangled them for the majority of the game, other than maybe the 10-15 minutes at the start. Other than that, we were absolutely just on top. So yeah, it was gutting, and I'm not going to bull around and say that I wasn't really disappointed and try and be like, it's fine, it's just a point. But it did feel like 2 points dropped rather than 1 point earned, and reality, we probably should be seeing it as 1 point earned.
Yeah. No, you're right. And Jacob, to put it into sort of perspective, what Evie's saying there about Bournemouth, I've seen a stat online on Twitter, and Bournemouth had faced 21 shots in their last 4 Premier League games combined, and we had 19 yesterday, and they'd only conceded 21 in 4 games, and they'd played Spurs, they played Liverpool in that time as well. So it shows just how good Leeds United were yesterday. Riola said as much as well, and obviously that us at home, I sit here and say I don't care who comes to Ellen Road. I think we'll give them all a game.
I think that'll keep us up this year, genuinely. I'm really confident with how we play at home. I think following on from what Evie said, the most reassuring thing for me is how well as new signings look, but also how well the squad of last year stepped up to compete at this level. And as painful as it is to say, Bournemouth are a much better side than we are. But yesterday it didn't look like that. We competed well. We put them under cosh for a decent bit of game, and I was impressed with how well Bournemouth pressed, to be fair, but I was more impressed with how we handled that. We looked good on ball. I think Strike were a bit shaky at the start of the game, but I think as we grew into it, we really looked like a Premier League football team. And that's, you can only take the positive from that, and it feels like 2 points dropped, but it were a really well point earned, and if someone had said to me before Wolves would have got 4 points from them games, I'd be really happy. Yeah. So I think just keep going. We definitely look more creative. Okafor, he's going into it. Longstaff, he's going into it. Everyone were giving Calvert-Lewin a load of stick when we signed him, but I thought he was great yesterday. Yeah. He helped ball up well, brought other people into play, and everything seemed to work. And that's what we're happy about. So I think long may it continue. And I think if it does, I can't see a world where we get relegated playing like that. So
no, I agree. There's not a lot I disagree with, mate. I think you bang on. I think I said that to Jer this morning, Dylan. I think what this 6 games have shown me is that Leeds United will compete in this division. We've only been second best in 1 game, and that was against Arsenal. And look, we went about it the wrong way that day, and obviously they're an elite footballing side, right? They've just, come up against Newcastle there and won it at the death, like Bournemouth got a point against us. This is the Premier League, right? You've got to be on it for the full 90 minutes. But are you the same, Dylan? You look at it and go, do you know what? Yeah, disappointed, but we competed, and that's the main thing.
Yeah, I've been really surprised, to be honest, going into it this year. I thought it would be, not to sound a bit over the top, but we've competed a lot more in games than I thought we probably would do in some of the games, especially like yesterday, Bournemouth, a team which on paper, a top half team in terms of the last couple of years, and we made it look easy. And you could look at like every game, like you're saying, bar Arsenal, we've competed. So, we seem to have adapted to this level. And what's really pleasing is Farks really changes where, changing the formation compared to last year. And he seems to be learning from his mistakes, and he's proving himself rather as well as us all as players, proving ourselves at this level as well. Because there was a lot of criticism for him going into the league this year. And not many people would have edged their bets on him to even pick up this many points in this many games. Yeah. So I'm really pleased. And like you say, yesterday, I think it shows how far we've actually come in that we disappointed some people in a draw against Bournemouth. Because to be honest, like you say, I think we deserved all 3. And like you say, they were lucky to get the point at the end.
Yeah, I think Bournemouth will come away from that thinking, we got away with one. Do you know what I mean? So you could argue maybe we got a bit fortuitous against Everton. Hopefully you'd hope over the course of the season it'll even itself out. But I agree with what everyone's saying. A lot of credit has to go to the manager, has to go to the squad of players that we've assembled, because they do, they have shown they belong. I did see this as well just before I came live, that the promoter clubs combined points through the first 6 games in the last 3 Premier League seasons. I don't know if you've seen this. 23-24 was 6 points, 24-25 was 8 points, and this season it's 23 points. So it just shows that we are really competing, us, Sunderland and Burnley. It is going to be it's going to be a long old season. Can't count our chickens yet, but obviously it's looking like at least there's going to be a battle. No one's going to be throwing their hands up and saying, "Yeah, okay, slap us up every week. We'll go down and take our medicine." I think we're going to battle. And I agree with what Jacob said. I think our home form will be key, and I think that's what will keep us up. And I'm actually I'm confident going into Spurs next weekend, as mad as that might sound. I'm actually quite quietly confident. You know, that's the team that got beat by Bournemouth and drew with Wolves. We know what we did to Wolves and had Bournemouth all the way. So bring it on for me. If you're talking about some individuals, then who stood out for you over the course of the 90 minutes, and who maybe didn't, that needs to improve? Do you think?
I thought Goodmanson was brilliant. I thought I loved how he was fighting for the ball when, you know, it could have gone out for a goal kick. We could have committed a foul. It could have, you know, I love that there was some potential lost causes and he went after it and he got them. I think maybe 8 out of 10 times he got them. So if we can keep, it just feels, I don't know about any of you, but it feels strange having a left back that can defend as well. And he had some defending to do because Bournemouth were, you know, they're a very tight, well drilled side. You know, a bit like, you know, obviously I know that Iriola is a kind of a Bielsa boy, but it is very much like they don't necessarily have superstars because they end up having to sell them the majority of the time every year. But they are so well drilled, and I thought Goodmanson was just incredible. There was nobody other than the really obvious person that disappointed me.
Who's the obvious person?
Tanaka.
Right, okay, yeah, okay.
Because he wasn't ready. He's not a right winger, and clearly that worked against Wolves, but Wolves are at the bottom of the table, and you know, Bournemouth are what, like 6th or something in the table now. So what works versus Wolves is not going to work against, you know, somebody who is potentially fighting for the bottom European places this season. So I think that he was very naive, and I think it was a silly error. And yes, they have to convert the free kick, and then we've conceded 2 set pieces, which is incredibly frustrating when we've started scoring from them ourselves, that we shouldn't just allow other people to score from them as well. But yeah, he was my only... his name was not in the good books around our house for the next few hours after the game. So yeah, that's probably... that's probably my only person who I was genuinely disappointed with. I don't really think anybody else did. I'm not saying they were all fantastic, but I don't really think, in my opinion, anybody did anything to be called out about.
Yeah, no, I think that's fair enough. I thought we saw some decent-ish performances from some. I thought Ampadu was quality again. Sean Longstaff was mint throughout. I felt in and out of the game, but when he was in, he was quality. And you know, the fullbacks are great. I do think, though, Jacob, maybe the change could have been James for Aronson. I felt a little bit more so than Tanaka.
Yeah, I think following on from what Evie said, actually, like Tanaka, he obviously wanted his natural position. We don't know for sure, but he doesn't seem ready. Otherwise, you'd think he'd be playing. I know Longstaff's played well, so it's going to take a bit to drop him. But Tanaka, I'd say, were probably his best player last season. If he were fit and ready, you'd think he'd be starting. But I think it was just a weird substitution all in all. Like, I don't know if you've seen my Twitter and my analysis. I'm like Brendan Aronson's least biggest fan of all time. I think he's rubbish. But I actually think yesterday, I think he played quite well. And the one thing you can't question about him is he will run for 180 minutes. So to take him off, I think were maybe bizarre. And I just think Tanaka, it just looked out of it. But I think not to focusing on Tanaka, I think actually to focus on what you said, Joe, about Ampadu's performances, it makes me question his squad depth just a little bit, because I think if you're bringing Tanaka on at right wing, you have to question that. And then what you said about Ampadu is, if he gets injured, I think as well as we're doing and as confident as I'm feeling, you're an Ampadu injury away from, slowly dwindling down league. And, in certain positions, Longstaff, Tanaka, Ampadu, Stack, great midfield. But when Gruev played against Arsenal, not great. You know, you've got Jacob Bijol on bench, which looks like a really solid centre half option. But you know, Tanaka on right wing, it does just make you question: could we maybe have tried and pushed Bart out and just signed a winger in summer? But yeah, I can't comment on the team performance yesterday. I were really happy with it, and I think we were just unlucky. I think on another day we win that game.
Yeah. Dylan, I was speaking to Joe earlier on this morning, and he made the good. I felt it was a good point. Could we have potentially, when Calvert-Lewin comes off, could we have potentially brought Biol on at that point and put an extra body at the back so that we, you know, when that ball comes in, who knows, Biol might have been there to head it. We've not seen much of him. And it looks like his only opportunity is going to be if either Strauch or Rodon get injured at this point. But what did you make to the subs? Because obviously a lot of FARC doubters were using it as a stick to say, oh, he got them so wrong. I don't think they were that wrong, personally. I agree sort of what Jacob said. It was a bit of luck, really, more than anything.
Yeah, I mean, it's a tough one. If Tanaka never makes that mistake and it ends 2-1, you look at it and you say, great subs and nice to wrap the game up and get the win. So it's just unlucky. Like you say, Tanaka probably isn't at his full fitness right now. You look at maybe a fully fit Tanaka, maybe doesn't make that mistake on the ball. So it is. I think it is unlucky. You could have brought Xhaka on for Calvert-Lewin, but then, you know, having Nemetra on, you've still always got that outlet of a striker who can always hold the ball up, get you up the pitch, and sort of relieve some pressure from you, and so you're not constantly on the back foot and trying to defend. So I can understand why he'd have brought Nemetra on instead. And to be honest, I do agree with it as well. I think, like I say, Biol's going to have to wait his time by the looks of things, because Strauch and Rodon at the minute aren't putting a foot wrong. And to be honest, they've really impressed, because it's another one where if he was never having a suspension going into the season, he probably would have started ahead of Strauch maybe, and we probably wouldn't be seeing this partnership currently that we are doing.
Yeah, you're right. I don't think. Yeah, you bang on. Actually, it's mad how the how the cookie could crumble in it. That because of that, we're now not seeing Biol at all, which is a bit unfortunate for him. But I'm sure throughout the season, Strauch will pick up a knock. He tends to do, and then
I was just going to say that.
yeah. He tends to always get one knock a season anyway. So we'll probably see him come in. Evie, what impressed me yesterday, obviously we scored from a corner. Joe Rodon got a headed goal, which isn't something that he normally does, but
great header as well.
Yeah, it was.
What's that?
Proper good header.
Yeah,
proper
it was,
good goal.
It was. I think the delivery from Longstaff was great, and whoever it is that's been promoted within the setup to now focus on set pieces, it's clearly worked, because they've said, right, Stark, you don't need to be taking them. We need you in the box, even if it's to create chaos, because you're about bloody 7 foot. And we see decent deliveries coming from Longstaff, and they've obviously worked on it, and it's proved dividends. So that's a good thing to see, Evie, that we've scored from a set piece, and a great header from Joe Rodon, as Jacob says.
Absolutely, it was like a classic number 9 type of header kind of thing, just no ball, straight in there, bang.
Not our number 9 header, because he had 2 of them and they're fucking shit. They were.
But to be fair though, if you watch it back, he's a great dummy, is Calvert-Lewin, for the fact of they had 3 people around him and nobody was watching Rodon, because Calvert-Lewin scores the majority of his goals with his head, and also Rodon is usually terrible with his head. So the two things combined makes you think, oh, well, we can probably not, keep our eyes on him as much. But he does seem to kind of get those goals in the games where you're like, where the hell did that come from? He did it last season. And it was funny because as the game went on, he was trying that same move again and again. He was like, I want it. I'm going to score another one. I've only scored 2 career goals in all my career so far, but I'm going to score a brace in this Premier League game, apparently. But yeah, I love the idea that we might be a threat from set pieces.
Yeah.
It's only like we've been screaming out for it for, you know, years and years and years. And obviously it wasn't something that that Bielsa really believed in. It wasn't pure football if you kind of scored from a set piece. But it was nice to just see us have another string to our bow, and we're going to need as many as possible if we're to stay up and compete. And I agree with what's been said in terms of the only game that we've not competed was against Arsenal, but every other game we either deserved more or deserved something from the game. You know, you could argue that we kind of deserved, you know, well, we definitely deserved a point against Fulham, and we deserved 3 points. So morally speaking, we're on 11 points if you think about it that way. But yeah, it's just nice that we're out. You know, we've got ideas that outside of like last season, we spent so long trying to walk the ball into the net, and you're not going to be given those kind of opportunities. So I think so much respect needs to go on to Farke's like head in terms of he's got a brand new squad from last season. His top goal scorer or top goal contributor is gone. His top goal contributor from the season before is gone. He's had to completely change the style of football and also be competitive at the same time, trying to bed in new players. All but Rodon's goals have all been scored by new players as well this season. Rodon, out of all of the players, is the only one that we had last season that scored. All of the other goals have come from new players. So, you know, I'm really excited, and I'm not bothered about the be-all stuff at the minute because, like you said, Strauch's going to get injured at some point. So far, everybody that's been given an opportunity has taken it, including Darlow as well. So I think that, and the same with Calvert-Lewin, you know, because obviously we started with Piro as the number 9 this season. So, and Piro, where does he even come in now? You know, we're going to have to wait for some injuries to kick in for Piro to be back in the mention.
Yeah, where do you two stand on the Piro? Because me and Joe were saying earlier, it's looking like it could be a loan out in January potentially, or maybe get some money for him. I don't know how he features in the Premier League, which is a bit sad. I feel almost a little bit sad for him, like, but
it just for me just don't look good enough for Premier League football. There's a certain, you know, you can be as good. It's really difficult to play Premier League football. You know, Gruev, Piro looked really good in Championship. Gruev and I think they both lack the athleticism where you need to be able to compete in Premier League. You know, Calvert-Lewin has that experience. He's been doing it for the best part of the last 10 years. You can see that when he plays. Nemecha, the opportunities he's been given. I thought that Newcastle game technically didn't look fantastic, but he knew where to be. He threw his body about. He competed with their 2 centre halves who were both massive. He got on ball. He moved play on. And when Piro has played, he just looks lethargic. And the difference is when you're in Championship, you have 80% of ball. The majority of it's played in their box, which suits Piro because he's there ready to tap it in. And it's not a criticism of Joe Piro, you know. I really value him as a footballer and I like him, but I just think he lacks the quality necessary to keep us up in Premier League. And it's a shame because obviously he scored so many goals last year and looked really good, but I don't think he's quite good enough.
Yeah, how do you feel on it, Dylan? Piro? Because I do feel a little bit like guilty saying, he's not quite at it, but I do agree with what Jacob said there. It's like, it's almost the centre-backs in the Premier League will have an easy afternoon if he's in front of them, whereas, you know, someone like someone like Calvert-Lewin and Mecha, they cause the centre-backs problems, don't they? Whereas Piro, it's all in front of them, it's easy to mark, and they just deal with it.
Yeah, I mean, you look at yesterday's game and the Wolves game as well. You look at Calvert-Lewin's goal against Wolves. Piro doesn't score those type of goals where you can just get some crosses in the box and he can battle with the 2 centre halves and try and get above them. And it's just not Piro's game. That's not a fault of him. It's just the way that the Premier League isn't built, and it's not set up to really suit him that well. Which is, like you say, it's a shame, because he played well against Everton in the first game, and I was quite pleased with the way he performed. But Calvert-Lewin's at the minute, he's showing why it is we've signed him and why he's been in the Premier League for so long, playing. So I do think it's a shame, and I think probably the best move will be for him to go out on loan to the Championship, get some minutes, and then you can probably get some value for him in the summer. So I think that's probably the best way forward. But he's been a good servant for us. Got us some goals, helped us go up.
Yeah.
So it's
I
time.
think is the ideal signing for someone who's chasing promotion out of Championship in January. And what I mean, they want to push that little button and say, do you know what? Find a player that'll get us over the line. Loan with a view to a permanent. That then means Leeds United get some money in the summer, which means we can probably then spend in January on that right winger that we need. You know what I mean? So it's all swings and roundabouts. So hopefully that can happen for him. More so for him as well, so he can play, because I actually like Joel Piro, the footballer. I think he's done a great job while he's been here. But yeah, we can't carry passengers, and I feel that in some games you could have argued he was a bit of a passenger in the Championship at times due to the way that he plays. So in the Premier League, we just can't afford that. And I feel harsh saying it, but I just think it's true. Jacob, obviously, you mentioned you're not Aronson's biggest fan. He played well yesterday. Do we envisage a world in where we're just waiting for Dan James to get up to speed in order for him to be starting, or is it because Aronson's so good defensively, the manager likes what he does?
It's a weird one for me with Brendan Aronson. I'll never criticise anyone who plays. I try my hardest not to criticise anyone who plays for Leeds. You want them to go out and do, as best as possible for the team and for us and for everyone. But with Aronson, I just think he has this weird thing where he'll run the most. He'll be the busiest player on the pitch, but he always just seems to be 2 or 3 yards behind what's happening. And the issue I have is the alternative being Dan James. I love Dan James. It was unbelievable last season. We went up. A lot of it's to do with him, but there's a question similar to Piro. There's a question there: is Dan James good enough in Premier League? And that's not to say let's ship him out, give him a go. But when he has featured this season, I don't think he's looked great. I don't necessarily think he's the solution to the Aronson problem. But Aronson, as poor as he can be technically and going forward sometimes, like you said, he is good defensively. He does work hard. He broke play up quite well yesterday, and I was impressed by him. But he's just a weird one. Like, for a bloke who's on floor so much, how can you be bad at laying on floor? Like that free kick goal that they scored, like, he's the only person that could do that. So I think the answer is probably signing a right winger, but it's just obviously dependent on the financial fair play and stuff, I guess.
That was brilliant, mate. I never thought of it like that.
Honestly, I was fuming. My head went.
Yeah, he was in the fetal position. He weren't even like straight. His legs had started to come round. I was like, what's he doing? But yeah,
I mean, can't do with him.
Yeah,
I just can't. I try.
Do you know what? I don't mind him. I like him. I feel like I stick up for him a lot of the time on here because he does get an unfair battering at times. Even when he's played half decent, people will say he's shit. I'm like, well, actually, he's done all right. Dylan, the first goal that we do concede, obviously, I'm a bit annoyed at Stack for obviously giving away the free kick on the edge as well. And then, Joe made the point earlier. Really, it's on Darlow as well to make sure his wall's right, and it wasn't right. It's a catalogue of errors, and it's disappointing to go 1-0 down, right? Because I think Calvert-Lewin had about 3 chances by that point as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's like you say, it's on Stack partly for, he's the one that made the challenge and gave away the foul, and you do look at it and you think, in front of the referee, right in the edge of the box, it's just a bit of common sense has to come into play, and not to make that foul there. But then also, like you say, the goalkeeper has to make sure his wall's set up perfectly right, because at this level you're going to get punished 9 times out of 10. And Semenyo's a quality player, and they'll have studied where he's likely to put it and stuff like that from set pieces. So it's something which you're gonna we'll work on, I'm sure. and it's a poor way to go 1-0 down in the game because it's easily preventable, which is the more frustrating thing.
Yeah. No, Evie, can't disagree with what's been said there. It is pretty preventable, isn't it? And I think my frustration was more the fact we'd had chances prior to that as well. And this is the thing in the Premier League. If you don't take your chances, you'll find yourself behind, even if you don't deserve to be, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that, as well, I said it when I was watching the game yesterday, you know, this is going to be a game of, are we going to rue the chances that we didn't take? And in the end, we did, even though it was you could never have predicted that we would concede a free kick in the 93rd minute that would result in a goal. But if we score those goals early on, it doesn't matter if we concede a second goal in the 93rd minute, because we've got a 4-goal cushion already in those 3 opportunities that we had in the first 10 minutes. So, you know, we should have scored 1 within the very first minute. So I also feel that Aronson was robbed of probably what would have been the most spectacular assist he will ever get in his entire life. Like, not many people say that they can do a back kick assist. That's usually the goal. But in true Aronson style, he couldn't get it on target, so it would have been an assist. But yeah, Dominic Calvert-Lewin then equally does what he does and didn't score it. It's very frustrating. And yeah, Aronson in the fetal position didn't give a very good account of himself in that respect. But it is what it is. We have to get better at deciding who, because surely they decide these things
pre-match.
In pre-match of who, if we are going to set up a wall like that with a draft excluder in there, then you're gonna know who that is. Why Aronson? You know, like, a gust of wind could have knocked him over anyway. So even if he wasn't in the fetal position, that ball came in with some power, so it would have knocked him off his side anyway. Yeah, but I also thought that we lost a lot when he went off the pitch, because he is good defensively. So maybe if the strikers were better at finishing, then you could afford to keep Aronson on, because he does work so hard defensively. And for me, he doesn't make that mistake that Tanaka makes yesterday, because there's a lot that can be said as well for, you have to be in the game and feel what the game's like. Tanaka had been on 2 minutes when he gave that free kick away. So he gave it away when he was very, very cold in the game. So Aronson doesn't make that mistakes because of the fact that he understood what the feel and what they were and weren't getting out of the Bournemouth players. You know, we completely rattled Adams as well, which I don't know whether we're going to talk about Adams, but
we can talk. Let's do it. Talk about him.
I think, honestly, I thought Ampadu until the second half did not have a good playing game yesterday. But in terms of captaincy, he was superb the entire game, including pushing players away, not letting them get rattled, not letting them get carded because they wanted to prove something, you know, because Adams was going in with some nasty tackles. But I think that Adams was gone by the time he had to be taken off. We'd got to him. Ampadu, then obviously when they're both going for that header that he was never going to get in a million years, and just pushed him in the back. And it hurt him because he then fell on his back and got winded. So it was just, I thought he wasn't fantastic in terms of his footballing game, but captaincy and his attitude and the Leeds element, I thought the entire team got that. And I also think that there's a potential that if Longstaff continues to play, he could be in with a shout of potentially, if Ampadu gets a knock, he knows what it's like to captain a team with a fierce fan base and with the expectations that Leeds carry. So I think that if Ampadu gets injured, the more we get into the season, Longstaff would be a good shout for that Ampadu role type of thing.
Yeah, he was everywhere yesterday. I think I'd seen since Opta started recording, he'd won the most duels for a Leeds United player. I think covered like 12. Here we go. So Leeds United, Sean Longstaff today was the first Leeds United player Opta has on record to create 7 chances and win 10 duels in a league game, covering over 12 kilometres per game so far. So he really has been a bit of a snip, Jacob, at just 12 million. He's not a signing that gets you off your seat, but he's been a steady Eddie, and really complements that midfield.
Completely, yeah. And I think it's, well, as I mentioned it at the start of pod, like, we've done really great business. I think everyone we've signed looks like a great signing. I also think everyone from last year's team seems to have stepped up enough to this level. You can make these questions around Piro, Dan James, Aronson, but overall we've stepped up. So the squad that's there is, I don't think we're a million miles away from being a steady Premier League club. I think you've just got to stay up this year. It's like Evie saying with us, we could have scored another chance yesterday. And I remember saying it to my mate at half time when we went for a pint. A better Premier League team would have been 2-0 up within 20 minutes because we had the right chances. But, in a more reassuring, positive tone, I don't think we're a million miles away from really clicking. I think the squad of players we have is great. We're solid at back. Keeper's all right. Midfield's fantastic. And if we can just start to score us chances, then I think we won't just be safe. I think we'll be steady away for mid table.
Yeah.
But it's just, I'm confident it'll come soon. I do think we'll just suddenly click. But I think as soon as we start putting those chances away, on a different day, Calvert-Lewin scores that chance. Okaforskyn's another man. Brendan Aronson's back heel comes off. We could have battered them yesterday. I think we were probably a much better side, but it's just, I feel like we're just still getting into his groove, and I think when it happens, we'll be sound.
Yeah. Dylan, we've got Tottenham next weekend, and then there's an international break. But when we do come back from the international break, then 4 teams that we play before the next one in November. We do play Burnley, West Ham, Brighton, Forest. You look at that and you think, right, okay, that's where we can really start to pick up some points. But just looking at Tottenham, mate, how are you feeling ahead of that one? Because they've had a bit of an up and down start. I'm actually, as mad as this sounds, going into Bournemouth, I was more confident for Spurs than I was Bournemouth. I actually felt Bournemouth would be a tougher test for us. Having seen that now, I'm like, right, okay, it's given me even more confidence for Spurs. They play midweek in the Champions League as well against Bodo Glimt away from home, so that has to play a part as well. They only just got a point against Wolves just on Saturday evening as well. So are we right to be confident, or are we just getting ahead of ourselves, or how do you see it?
No, I think we're right to be confident. At the end of the day, we've proven in the last 5-6 games that we're here not just to make up the numbers, and that we will give anybody a game at this level. And, I think we've seen from all the promoted clubs this year that it's not going to be a 3 up, 3 down situation. I wouldn't be surprised if all 3 teams stayed up, personally. Everyone seems to be showing well for themselves this year.
Yeah. I would love it, mate, if all 3 stayed up.
It'd be great, to be honest, and it would say a lot for not just us 3, but the league itself, to be honest, because it has become more of a closed shop in recent years. But looking at Spurs, I'm really.
Just about to drop some knowledge there, weren't he, as well? And he's gone. Is it? I'm really confident, I think. Is that what we're saying? Look at his face. Poor Dylan, man. I know. Jacob, do you want to take on how are you feeling?
Yeah, I'm happy to follow on there, mate. So Spurs, they're a good side. It's not going to be easy. I'm more confident as the weeks have gone on moving into these games. Like we mentioned at the start, that home advantage, like, let's win at Ellen Road. I seen a stat yesterday, we're unbeaten at Ellen Road in however many games, 20 plus. Yeah. Let's keep it going. It's going to be hard. And if we lose, it's all right. My argument in these games is always, if you're going to lose trying. Arsenal, we just sort of got battered and it didn't look great. But Spurs, like you said, the previous results they've had, they got Champions League midweek. We played really well yesterday. Let's use this as a catalyst going into international break to really just push on, and then you come out with international break, you've got a good set of fixtures. Burnley, let's be beating them. Conveniently West Ham have got a new gaffer, so they're not worst team in league anymore. So that'll be an harder graph. But like I said, going back to what I said before, I think we're really close to being a good side. I think these games against Spurs where you can go, all right, let's, it's nice to be in that position where we can say, actually, we might compete, we might get a result. So we'll see.
Yeah. Dylan, do you want to carry on what you were saying? I think you were saying you were very confident, mate.
Yeah, too confident by the looks of things, but yeah, yeah. No, I mean, honestly, I think we could get a draw. I do think that there's no point being negative about it. I think we can give anyone a game, and I think this game against Spurs, I mean, Thomas Frank's, he's done well in terms of getting in a new system to their players, and they're not as bad as they were last year, but they're by no means the finished article yet, and just like we're not. So I do think that we're growing, and Farke's learning every game. So I think we can definitely get something.
Yeah. You say confident draw. I think we'll get all three, Evie. Am I wild to think this? Am I getting ahead of myself again?
I don't think you're massively wild. I watched the game last night and they didn't offer a great deal, and we know how easily that Wolves team can be got at as well. It doesn't take a lot to break their confidence. And, it took a really late equaliser in order for them to scrape a point against a team that we, as a newly promoted team, got all three from. But going back for the last maybe 6 games against Wolves, Tottenham, I think, have only won once against Wolves. So they're a bit of a bogey team for Tottenham. So, yeah, I think as well, it'll be just quickly going back to the promoted clubs staying up. It also gives hope to the Championship in terms of, because it has been very disheartening if you're a team that works so hard, 46 games, a very, very long season, to think, right, well, we've got promoted and now we're going to get spanked every single week and we're going to come straight back down and lose all of the players that got us promoted in the first place. So I think if at least 2 teams stay up, which I do think it is more likely us and Sunderland, but Sunderland have had the easiest fixtures out of the 3 of us. But I do think that if at least 2 teams can stay up, then it makes the Championship worth winning again, which I think will be great. Spurs, they're Spursy, aren't they? Now, and we're Leedsy. So which kind of team is going to be their own name, the most? I think that it would be nice if we can get rid of the Tottenham curse, because as well, we seem to have our worst days against Tottenham. We got relegated against Tottenham. We lost Marcelo Bielsa against Tottenham. Tyler Adams ended up getting sent off in that 4-3 game, which we should have won easily because Harry Kane's goal should never have been allowed because he assaulted Meslier. But VAR don't like us, so that never got looked at. So a lot of things we struggle against Tottenham. So that's the only thing that I would kind of say of, we don't have a particularly nice recent record other than the first season back up last time around when we beat them.
Be interesting to see if Archie's involved at all as well. Obviously, with them playing midweek in the Champions League, there might be a bit of switching around, and he might get a bit of a homecoming. That'll be interesting to see. But
you'd hope so.
Yeah,
I'd love to see, and he would get a very good reaction back at Elland Road as well.
Yeah. Won't be like Tyler Adams yesterday.
No.
Every time he picked up the ball, man, he just came through. Boom, man. He didn't half get some stick. But all in all, folks, we are disappointed but positive, aren't we? 6 games played. One
points is Chelsea. Exactly. We've only got a 4 worse off goal difference. I think there's so much that we can be positive and proud about as well. We've not had the easiest, but we've not had the toughest. I do think that Burnley have had the toughest start to the season. But other than Arsenal, we have competed in every single game. So I think there's going to be a lot of twists and turns, but at Elland Road, I'm the same as you, Joe. I'm not saying I think we'll beat everybody at Elland Road, but I think we could get something from any game at Elland Road, We didn't lose at home to any of the big six when we came up last time. So who's to say that we might do the same again?
The last time we lost at Ellen Road was September last year, man, against Burnley. You know, it's nearly a year now. So yeah, listen, I don't see anyone. I don't think we get slapped up like, even if we get beat, we don't get slapped up like we did at the Emirates at Ellen Road. I just don't see it happening. I think we'll be competitive in every game, and it'll be a tough place for these teams to come. And yeah, look, I think already just to look at Bournemouth yesterday, I think Iriola was saying, you know, that they got in our faces. They were, you know, athletic, physical. You know, they did plenty of running, and the stats back that up in terms of, like I said, for them to get combined shots 21 in 4 games and then come to our place and only have or we can get 19 shows just how well we played. So, and it's not a coincidence that when teams are coming to Ellen Road, the fans are saying, "Oh, we were shit today, worst we played, or we're garbage," or whatever. Well, we have to take credit for that. You know, we have to take credit that it's us that's causing this. You know what I mean? Not the other way around. But yeah, I'm happy and positive. And look, honestly, at like 90th minute, I'm thinking, damn, man, that's 6 games, 3 wins. Fucking hell, we're 50%. We're on the way there. We're staying up. And then obviously, like a dagger, they go and get that goal, which I was convinced at the time it was offside, which clearly it wasn't when you watch it back. But yeah, we've just got to, I mean, is anyone concerned we've conceded 2 late goals? I think a lot of fans outside of Leeds are saying, "Oh, you're not concerned." Dylan, does it bother you at all that we've seen the Fulham and Bournemouth results go the way they have?
I mean, the Fulham one was really just a freak incident. Any other, like 99 times out of 100 that happens, you know, and that doesn't happen. Like that goal doesn't come. So, you know, I think that was just really, really unlucky. And yesterday it was, you know, just Tanaka's, you know, not being 100% there, fully fit. And, you know, that was like, I think that was his like first touch of the game. So, you know, it's going to be, you know, it's just unlucky. I think there's not much you can do about it. I'm not concerned about it just yet. If it starts to become a regular theme, then I think it's something which definitely could become a problem. But right now, I think, you know, I'm just enjoying the ride so far.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, well, it's like Evie, isn't it? At the end of the day, we had that, you know, we couldn't score from open play, and then boom, we've scored 5 goals in 2 games, and it's like we have to look for something. But yeah, I think we're going to be fine. And the fact that Jacob's computer or his phone's just, I don't know what happened there. It all went black, and he's back with us now. It all went a bit mad there for a second, but he's back with us. There we go. We were worried, I guess, about us scoring open play goals, is what I was going to say, Evie. And then we've scored 5 in 2. So, you know, we're trending in the right direction, aren't we, with everything, really?
Absolutely. And you've got to look at it realistically. There are a lot of good teams that are struggling this season.
Yeah.
Aston Villa, they got their first win today.
Yeah.
So you imagine the meltdown if you flip that round and you imagine we just got our first win.
Yeah, true.
Like, we'd be an absolute meltdown, and they're in European football. So the fact that they've got a manager who's got them European football, they've had to sell a lot of players over the last few seasons, and they've not really invested in their team that much. And then you've got Newcastle, who obviously were winning for large amounts of that game today and ended up getting no points. So they have now back down below us, when actually they were ahead of us, you know, earlier on in the game. Because I think they would have been on 9 points, I think, possibly now. But either way, you know, we've got some really impressive, literally Champions League teams that are below us at the minute. So if we can't really complain, you know, that we're sat on the same points as Chelsea, you know, who've got a £1.5 billion squad, and we've spent 100 million on like 11 players. So, you know,
It sounds like you're telling me we're on for a European tilt here. Is that what you're telling me? Yeah.
God, you sound like my husband, because that's what he said. He was like, that's it, it's Europe now. I was like, no, if you froze the table now, you said we're comfortably mid-table, there's a gap, everything's healthy.
Take it.
I'll take that. Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
100%.
And then we can just work from there, because now we know that you don't just rely on your manager getting you results. You actually have to invest in your team. So
100%.
yeah, I think as long as we stay vigilant and we don't get cocky, because I hate it when we get cocky and we just think that things are going to be okay. I do find it ironic that West Ham have obviously sacked their manager, which I don't disagree with, but they've hired the one manager who is the only team that they've beaten so far this season. Was Nuno's Forest. So I do find it really funny that they've hired the one manager who they actually beat. So it would be lovely if we could beat Nuno as well.
Yeah, it would be nice, and I'm convinced Ange is going to get sacked soon as well. To be honest, with that Marinakis in charge of Forest, they've still not got any wins yet, so something mad will happen there. And while all madness is happening around us, we just need to stay calm and keep picking up points, and we'll be sound as long as we can pick up something next Saturday, and then we go into international break looking pretty nice. But I think it's been a great show. Jacob, thank you for coming on, mate. Thanks very much.
No worries,
great,
mate. Anytime.
Great addition, pal. Yeah, anytime. Definitely great addition. Same for yourself, Dylan. Quality as well, mate. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Yeah, and the brilliant Evie, as always, who's now just going to be hosting the Woman Show on Wednesday, right? Now that you've done it, you're like...
yeah, apparently, yeah.
Yeah. I think so. But listen, everyone, thanks for watching. Smash a like on the video. Actually, before you do, Jacob, do you want to tell them about what is it, Twitter? What's the story?
Don't really know, to be fair, mate. Obviously, we jumped on this Fanalysis thing, and I thought it's just a good catalyst to get something started. So I go to all the games, got a season ticket. I like talking about football. That's all I do in my life anyway. So I thought I'll just start doing a bit of this stuff, few podcasts, post on my Twitter, and do this Fanalysis stuff and see what comes of it. But I'm on Twitter, I'm on Instagram, I'm on Fanalysis. The app's getting launched soon, so in the East Stand, that's me app. So all over that.
There you go. In the East Stand. What about yourself, Dylan?
Yeah, Twitter mainly. You know, can usually be seen ranting about something on there normally. So yeah, mine's just my name, Dylan Whitbread. So
there you go.
Feel free. Don't have to, but you know, might be.
Do, man.
Yeah, do it.
Go over and follow him. Yeah. There you go, Dylan Whitbread, and in the East Stand, and then of course Evie has Discourse of a Peacock, and we'll be hosting the Women's Shot on a Wednesday as well. Thanks everyone for tuning in, and we will see you in a bit. Bye bye now.
No.